Yeah, well, we've had pretty wide-ranging discussion on these amendments dealing with the national planning statements. But one amendment I have does relate to some of the issues that were raised, which I do think should be included in any of these, whether it's national planning statements, whether it's in the frameworks, and so these are amendments that I've tried to put consistently through this bill, is on the need to promote the provision of social and affordable housing. Once upon a time, well, not just right up until now, the planning system didn't see it as its responsibility to ensure that the development that took place in the area of housing would be affordable or social, right? I remember when we did the development plan for Cherrywood, or the SDZ, the Strategic Development Zone, we tried to push a whole series of amendments in Oireachtas Down County Council to say that there had to be an obligation to deliver a certain proportion of social and affordable housing. And we were told at the time, that's not a planning issue. You can't do that. And I was a young rookie councillor trying to, this is the biggest issue for me. This is the issue I'm hearing day in, day out, is the people in our area are waiting decades on housing lists or can't afford the house prices. And then I get elected to the council, and one of the first things we're doing is this SDZ for Cherrywood, the biggest residential development that's happening anywhere in the country. And you're told, no, you can't require an obligation for higher proportions because that's not a planning issue. Now, times have moved on, and there's a recognition, and we've started to get it. There was, I think, one of the earliest fights. I was also at some of the preliminary meetings when this campaign got underway over Poolbeg, where that was going to be developed, and the residents saying, yeah, you're going to develop this, it has to benefit the local community in terms of the provision of housing for our sons and daughters. And so we've moved on a bit, but in my opinion, not enough. Right? It has to be absolutely hardwired into the planning and development system that it's not good enough just to say, well, we think population is going to be this, therefore we need these amount of houses, and you can build them here and you can't build them here and so on. You got to do that, but you also have to have included in that planning the absolute, requirement, obligation that what is built is actually going to meet the housing needs of the people in that area, based on, incomes and affordability and so on. Because otherwise what you end up with is building loads of stuff that nobody can afford. Isn't that really what laid the basis for the crash in 2008? We were building loads of stuff, but at a certain point, the people who were supposed to live in it couldn't afford it. And the whole thing comes tumbling down. Now that was the absolute opposite of proper planning. Right? So what we've got to do is learn the lessons of this and ensure that when we are doing these plans and these statements, these frameworks and so on, that part of it has to be to deliver that. Is that social and affordable housing? In a way that relates to what Deputy Healy-Rae, I don't know the issues in Kerry half as well as he does, but ultimately it is about the people in the community. And does the planning system serve their legitimate needs to be housed in their community? And you do need to, and critical to that is you've got to really engage with the community. So the process has to be genuinely democratic. Now, as it happens, I do think you can balance the need to protect nature, protect biodiversity, protect water quality, all those things, as well as meet the needs of people and have a common sense approach, but one that is also respectful of the environment, which if you destroy, you'll do it at your peril. Because you can't build stuff and then find, well, actually you don't have clean water. So you do have to get these things right, but I empathise with the sentiment which says often, because if you don't really consider the ordinary people in terms of planning of what they need and what they can afford and so on, the people who actually benefit from the plans are often big for-profit developers who for them just see the plan as an opportunity they can exploit and they can make money out of. So not really that bothered, does it actually meet the needs of the local community? It's just a framework in which they're going to make money. So for me, therefore, to conclude on this, that is why the question of, if you like, these statements, and I'm not quite sure why we even need them, but if we are going to have them, the planning statements now, we need a planning system, we need all the various layers, but this particular thing that's being done here is that the minister will issue planning statements which potentially then come into conflict with democratically decided development plans or other layers of the planning process, into conflict with communities and so on. If we're going to do that, and I'm not saying there mightn't be a reason for having these things, but it should be democratically decided in this House. So that precisely if there are concerns from Kerry or from Dunleary, that they can be inputted into the discussion and that the elected representatives of the people have a say over the statement that is made. If there needs to be an intervention, if you like, at a national level in the planning system to ensure that it delivers the sustainable and necessary development required for our society. So again, I mean, we've had the debate, but I just don't see why it should be just the minister who ultimately makes this decision about the government, should I say, as the wording of this is. It should be the houses of the Oireachtas. But to repeat, social and affordable housing and the need for that and the need to deliver that should be hardwired into the whole process.